Imagine for a moment that you are an explorer, not in some distant jungle or desert, but right in your own backyard. You are digging, perhaps planting a tree or repairing a fence, when your tool strikes something hard and unexpected. You brush away the soil to reveal an object unlike anything you have ever seen before. It is made of a material you cannot identify, shaped with a precision that seems both ancient and advanced, and it carries a sense of purpose that feels entirely lost to our modern world. This is not just a forgotten tool or a piece of junk. It is a message, a silent whisper from a civilization that history has entirely overlooked, a culture that flourished and created, and then vanished without leaving its name in any book. This is the thrill, the profound mystery that drives archaeologists and history enthusiasts to search for the clues of our collective past. It is a feeling of connection to something vast and unknown, and it is the very heart of the journey we are about to embark on together. Today, we are going to explore 20 of the most enigmatic artifacts ever unearthed. Each one of these incredible objects was discovered in a place far removed from any known ancient culture, standing alone as a puzzle piece from a picture we are still trying to assemble. These are not just old relics, they are challenges to our fundamental understanding of human history. They suggest technologies we did not think were possible, connections between cultures we believed were separate, and achievements that seem to belong to a different timeline altogether. From a simple clay jar that might have generated electricity 2,000 years ago, to a map so accurate it seems to depict continents hidden under ice for millennia, these artifacts force us to ask difficult and exciting questions. What if our history books are missing entire chapters? What if ancient peoples possessed knowledge that was lost for centuries, only to be stumbled upon by accident in modern times? This video is your invitation to join a global investigation, to look at the evidence with fresh eyes and an open mind. We will travel across continents and dive deep into the stories behind these archaeological wonders. We will meet the people who found them and the experts who have dedicated their lives to solving them. This is more than a list of strange objects. It is a narrative about human curiosity, ingenuity, and our endless desire to understand where we came from. So get ready to uncover secrets that have baffled scholars for generations. Prepare to see history not as a fixed story, but as a living, breathing mystery, filled with clues that are still waiting to be interpreted. The artifacts we are about to explore might just change the way you see our past and ultimately our future. Think of these mysterious artifacts as messages in a bottle, but instead of washing up on a shore, they are buried deep within the earth, waiting for a chance to speak. They are the sole remaining voices of entire cultures that have vanished into the shadows of time. Peoples who built, created, and lived complex lives without ever writing down their stories for us to find. When we uncover a simple clay pot or an ornate ceremonial mask in a place where it simply should not be, we are not just looking at an old object, we are being handed a clue, a single piece of a massive global puzzle. Every detail matters immensely. The way it was crafted, the materials chosen, even its final resting place. All these elements are silent words in a language we are desperately trying to learn. These finds stretch far beyond the familiar realm of archaeology, pulling in experts from countless other fields to help crack their codes. Anthropologists study the cultural meanings embedded in their designs. Materials scientists analyze the metals or stones to trace their origins to distant quarries or mines. Astronomers might even be called upon to see if an artifact's alignment matches the stars on a specific date. This interdisciplinary detective work is our best tool for listening to what these objects are trying to tell us. A perfect example is the famed Antikythera Mechanism, a complex clockwork device recovered from an ancient Greek shipwreck. For decades, it was a baffling collection of corroded gears. It took the combined efforts of historians, astronomers, and engineers to finally understand it was an intricate analog computer, a device for predicting celestial events that demonstrates a level of technological sophistication we never knew the ancient Greeks possessed. It completely rewrote a chapter in the history of science, all from one silent, corroded box, and that is the truly captivating part of this entire pursuit. For every mystery we solve, 10 more seem to emerge from the ground. The evidence is almost always fragmentary, a piece of a pot, a single coin, a broken tool. Researchers must weave these scant threads into a tapestry, knowing full well that the final picture will be incomplete. This process is a tantalizing dance between knowledge and wonder, where a single discovery can either confirm our theories or shatter them entirely, sending us back to the drawing board. It is a field fueled by a beautiful, relentless curiosity. As we journey through these 20 enigmatic artifacts, remember that you are not just looking at a list of strange old things. You are stepping through 20 different doorways. Each one opens onto a new vista of human potential, a glimpse into the boundless ingenuity that has defined our species for millennia. But what transforms a simple object from a forgotten time into a true historical enigma is not just the object itself. It is the story of its discovery, the specific circumstances of its final resting place. In archaeology, context is absolutely everything. Imagine finding a single, elegant dinner plate. On its own, it is just a plate. But if you find that same plate resting on a stone table deep within an underground cavern, surrounded by ceremonial candles and other rare offerings, its meaning changes entirely. It is no longer just a piece of dinnerware. It becomes a sacred object, a clue to spiritual practices. This is the power of context. It is the precise location, the soil layer it was buried in, the other items found with it, and even its orientation, whether it was placed facing north or lying on its side. All these minute details work together to form a narrative. When that context is missing, the mystery deepens exponentially. An artifact discovered in isolation, perhaps by a hiker who picked it up from a riverbank or a farmer who plowed it from a field, becomes a ghost from the past with no clear identity. It is like finding a single page from a novel with no title and no page number. You can read the words, but you have no idea which chapter it is from or what story it is telling. This is the fate of many of the artifacts we will explore. Their isolation is what makes them so captivating and so frustrating for researchers. A perfect example is the Maine Penny, a small Norse coin minted in Norway during the 11th century. On its own, it is a fascinating piece of currency, but its context being found at a Native American settlement site in what is now the state of Maine is what ignited a firestorm of debate. Did Viking explorers reach further into North America than we previously thought, trading with indigenous peoples centuries before Columbus? Or did this single coin arrive through a long, slow chain of trade between different Native American groups, passed from hand to hand over hundreds of miles? Without a Viking longship buried nearby or other definitive Norse artifacts, the context is incomplete and the theories multiply. To build a reliable timeline, archaeologists employ a toolkit of sophisticated techniques. Stratigraphy examines the layers of soil and debris, understanding that deeper layers are generally older than those above them, much like the layers of a cake. Radiocarbon dating analyzes the decay of radioactive carbon in organic materials like wood or bone, providing a remarkably accurate estimate of an object's age. And comparative analysis looks at similarities with other, better understood artifacts from known cultures. But when an object is ripped from its original context, these tools can only tell us so much. They can give us an age and a material composition, but they cannot tell us the story of the person who used it or the ceremony it was part of. This fundamental challenge sets the stage for our entire journey. Each of the 20 artifacts we are about to explore carries this added weight of mystery precisely because it was found far from any known ancient cultural center, in a place where, according to conventional history, it simply should not be. Their enigmatic nature is amplified by their lonely discovery, inviting us to look closer and question the maps of the past we thought we knew so well. So we begin with an object that sounds like it belongs in a laboratory, not an archaeological dig. Unearthed from the sands of Qujat Rabu, just outside modern-day Baghdad, this simple clay jar, roughly the size of a man's fist, holds a secret that has electrified the world of alternative history. Inside, archaeologists found a rolled copper sheet forming a cylinder, housing a single iron rod. The jar itself showed signs of having been sealed with an asphalt plug, which would have held these metal components firmly in place, insulating them from each other. If this description brings a particular image to mind, you are not alone. To many, this assembly bears a striking resemblance to a simple electrochemical cell. If the jar were filled with an acidic liquid like vinegar or fermented grape juice, the difference in electrical potential between the copper and the iron could have generated a small but measurable electric current. The implications of this are astounding. Dated to the Parthian period, somewhere between 250 years before the Common Era and 224 years after, this so-called Baghdad Battery would predate the inventions of Alessandro Volta and other pioneers of electricity by well over 1,000 years. What could an ancient civilization have possibly needed with a trickle of electric power? One compelling theory suggests it was used for electroplating, the process of depositing a thin layer of one metal onto another. Artisans of the time were masters of gilding and silvering objects, techniques often achieved using chemical baths. A small electrical current could have made this process more efficient and controllable, allowing for more intricate and durable results. Imagine a skilled craftsperson using such a device to apply a shimmering layer of gold onto a sacred amulet or a royal drinking vessel, an act that would have seemed like magic to onlookers. Another fascinating possibility lies in the realm of ritual and medicine. Some researchers have proposed that the mild electric shock produced by the battery could have been used for therapeutic purposes, perhaps to stimulate muscles or create a tingling sensation interpreted as a divine presence. In the hands of a clever priest in a dimly lit temple, such a device could have been used to create awe-inspiring illusions, making a statue seem to tremble or emit a faint glow, thereby strengthening the faith of worshippers. This idea ties the object to a world where technology and spirituality were not separate fields but intertwined aspects of understanding the universe. Yet, it is crucial to note the significant skepticism that surrounds this interpretation. Mainstream archaeology often classifies the object differently, suggesting it may have simply been a storage jar for sacred scrolls, with the iron and copper rods being nothing more than the protective cases for the parchment. The primary challenge to the battery theory is the lack of conclusive evidence. No wires have been found connected to similar jars, no electrodes, and no other examples of electroplated objects from the same time and place that clearly required an electrical process. The Baghdad Battery stands in isolation, a single, enigmatic data point. This very isolation is what makes it so compelling. It forces us to ask a difficult question. Was this a commonplace tool whose companions have been lost to time, or is it a unique prototype, a glimpse of a path of technological inquiry that was explored but then abandoned? This single, unassuming clay pot challenges the linear narrative of progress, suggesting that the spark of innovation can flare up in unexpected times and places, only to be forgotten, waiting patiently in the earth to astonish us centuries later. While a clay jar from Baghdad hints at lost technologies, our next artifact tells a story of epic journeys and a world far more connected than we once believed. Picture a simple, weathered silver coin, smaller than a modern dime, discovered not in a European treasury but amidst the shells and stones of a pre-Columbian Native American settlement on the coast of Maine. This is the Maine Penny, a Norse coin minted in Norway sometime between 1065 and 1080 of the Common Era. Its very existence in that place at that time throws a fascinating wrench into the traditional narrative of the discovery of the Americas. It suggests that Viking explorers, centuries before Christopher Columbus set sail, may have not only reached the shores of North America, but also engaged in some form of exchange with the indigenous people who lived there. The story of its discovery is almost as compelling as the coin itself. It was unearthed in 1957 during a careful archaeological dig at the Goddard site, a well-documented trading village of the Penobscot people. It was not found alone but nestled amongst thousands of other artifacts, including stone tools and pottery, all definitively linked to Native American culture. This context is absolutely critical. It means the coin was not dropped by a 19th century collector or a modern tourist. It was there in the ground as part of that ancient community's material record. The most straightforward interpretation is that it arrived there through direct contact, perhaps traded from the hand of a Norse explorer to a Native American hunter or craftsman hundreds of years ago. This idea is supported by the rich Norse sagas, epic tales that speak of Leif Erikson's voyage to a place he called Vinland around the year 1000. The archaeological site of Elance Ox Meadows in Newfoundland, Canada, provides physical proof that the Norse did indeed build a small settlement in North America. The discovery of the Maine Penny suggests their travels and influence may have extended much further south along the coast than we previously thought. It opens up the possibility of a vast trade network where a Norse coin could travel from a mint in Norway to a Viking camp in Newfoundland, and then down the coast through indigenous trade routes, eventually ending up in Maine. This small piece of silver becomes a token in a much larger story of intercultural exchange. However, as with all great mysteries, there is a healthy dose of skepticism. Some scholars propose alternative explanations, suggesting the coin could have been brought over by later European fishermen operating in the area in the 16th or even 17th century, and then lost or traded. They point out that it is a single coin, an outlier without any other Norse artifacts found at the site to corroborate its ancient arrival. Could it have been carried as a curiosity or a good luck charm by an early English settler, only to be lost centuries after it was minted? This debate is at the very heart of archaeological interpretation, a constant balancing act between the thrilling story a single object can tell and the strict, evidence-based requirements of the scientific method. Regardless of which theory one favors, the Maine Penny stands as a powerful symbol. It is a tangible, physical link to the human desire to explore, to cross vast and terrifying oceans, and to connect with other cultures. It challenges the simplistic story of Columbus's discovery and replaces it with a far more complex and interesting picture of pre-Columbian interaction. This lone coin whispers of fleeting encounters on rocky shorelines, of Norsemen and Native Americans meeting, and of objects changing hands, carrying with them stories that would, for centuries, remain buried in the earth. It is a humble reminder that history is not a settled record but a living puzzle, and that a single find can force us to reconsider the entire map of the past. But if a coin can travel across oceans and centuries, what are we to make of an object that appears to defy time itself? Our next artifact is a humble tool that has sparked one of the most enduring debates in alternative archaeology. It is known as the London Hammer. In the summer of 1936, a couple were walking along a creek bed near the town of London, Texas, when they noticed a curious piece of rock with what looked like a piece of wood protruding from it. They took it home and later cracked it open, revealing an incredible secret hidden inside. The rock contained a full-sized hammer, its handle partially petrified and its head made of a singular type of iron. The truly baffling part was the rock itself. It was a concretion of Cretaceous limestone, a formation that geologists date to approximately 100 million years ago. The implications of this are staggering. According to conventional geological and historical understanding, this hammer, a clearly human-made object, should not exist. It should be impossible. It was found completely encased in solid rock that predates the existence of humans by millions upon millions of years. This single fact has made the London Hammer a centerpiece for theories that challenge everything we think we know about history. Some propose it is evidence of a highly advanced prehistoric civilization, one that possessed metallurgical knowledge and then vanished without a trace, leaving only this single tool behind as a clue to their existence. Others have ventured into even more speculative territory, suggesting the hammer could be proof of time travel or some form of temporal anomaly that placed a modern object into the ancient past. The hammer's physical properties only add layers to the mystery. The handle is indeed petrified, a process that takes a significant amount of time, suggesting it is genuinely ancient. Even more intriguing is the metal of the hammerhead. Analysis has shown it is composed of an unusually pure form of iron, with very few bubbles or impurities, and it exhibits a curious lack of carbon, which is atypical for modern steel production. Some researchers who have studied it claim the iron has also undergone a process that strengthens it, a technique that would require a sophisticated understanding of metallurgy not common until the industrial era. This combination of an ancient-looking handle and a strangely advanced metal head creates a paradox that is difficult to resolve. Naturally, the scientific community remains largely skeptical, offering more conventional explanations. The predominant theory is that the hammer is a relatively recent tool from the 19th century, perhaps belonging to a local miner. They suggest that the dissolved minerals in the creek water could have formed a hard, rock-like concretion around the object in a surprisingly short amount of time, a matter of decades rather than eons. This process, while not instantaneous, would not require millions of years. Critics also point out that the hammer was not excavated in a formal, controlled archaeological dig, meaning its original context and the precise conditions of its discovery cannot be verified with scientific certainty, leaving room for doubt about its purported age. Yet the legend of the London Hammer persists. It endures because it taps into a profound and compelling question. What if our timeline is wrong? What if the Earth has secrets we have not yet begun to fathom? This simple tool, now housed in a small museum, challenges the very foundations of human history. It asks us to consider the possibility that civilizations rise and fall in cycles so vast we can scarcely perceive them, leaving behind only the occasional, enigmatic artifact as evidence of their passage. Whether a misstated curiosity or a genuine historical anomaly, the London Hammer forces a confrontation between established science and the tantalizing possibility of a forgotten past. reminding us that some discoveries refuse to be neatly categorized and continue to spark wonder and debate for generations. From the rugged landscape of Texas, we fly across the world to the sands of Egypt, where another small object holds a sky-high mystery. Discovered in 1898 during an excavation of a tomb near Saqqara, this artifact is a beautifully crafted wooden bird, dated to around 200 years before the Common Era. At first glance, it seems like a simple representation of a falcon, a bird sacred to the god Horus, yet a closer look reveals features that are anything but ordinary. Unlike typical bird figurines with legs and a perched posture, this one has a sleek, aerodynamic body, straight, level wings, and most strikingly, a vertical tail fin that looks less like a bird's tail and more like the stabilizer on a modern airplane. This unusual design has launched a fascinating debate that pits traditional archaeology against more speculative ideas. The mainstream and most widely accepted explanation is that the Saqqara bird was a ceremonial object, perhaps a ritual vessel or a decorative ornament, possibly even a child's toy. In this view, the tail fin could simply be a stylized representation of a bird's tail feathers, and its sleek form an artistic choice. However, a number of researchers and engineers have pointed out that the object's proportions are uncannily similar to those of a modern glider. When scaled up and tested in wind tunnels, models based on the Saqqara bird have demonstrated genuine aerodynamic properties, capable of achieving stable, gliding flight. This has led to a compelling theory. Could the ancient Egyptians have possessed a rudimentary understanding of the principles of flight? Perhaps it was not a bird at all, but a scale model of a working glider, used for ceremonial purposes or even as a prototype for a larger, human-carrying craft that has since been lost to time. This idea connects to a broader theme in Egyptian technology. We know they were master craftspeople, capable of incredible precision in stoneworking and woodworking. The concept of flight was also not entirely foreign to them, as evidenced by their myths of flying gods and their early experiments with kites. The line between symbolic representation and functional prototype can often be blurry in ancient art. A ceremonial object meant to symbolize a bird in flight might, by pure accident or through careful observation of nature, end up with a functional aerodynamic shape. Alternatively, a functional model created by a brilliant, unknown inventor could have been ritualized and buried as an offering, its original practical purpose forgotten. Ultimately, the Saqqara bird stands as a powerful symbol of ancient ingenuity. Whether it was a toy, a religious symbol, or a blueprint for flight, its existence challenges us to look beyond our assumptions. It reminds us that the people of the past were just as intelligent and curious as we are today, constantly observing the world around them and experimenting with the limits of their materials and their understanding. They may not have left behind written manuals on aerodynamics, but they left us puzzles carved in wood, inviting us to wonder what other knowledge has been lost, waiting to be rediscovered in the silent tombs of history. Now we journey to the high mountains of China, where a story emerges that pushes the boundaries of archaeology into the realm of science fiction. The tale of the Dropa stones begins in 1938, when a Chinese archaeologist named Kai Pu-te is said to have led an expedition into the remote Bayan Karaula Mountains near the Tibetan border. The story goes that his team discovered a series of caves, and inside they made a series of bizarre finds. The caves contained neatly arranged rows of graves holding the skeletons of small, unusually shaped individuals with large, elongated skulls. But the real mystery was scattered across the cave floor, hundreds of stone discs, each about the size of a large dinner plate, with a hole in the center and a fine, continuous spiral groove running from the center to the rim. According to the legend, it was only years later, in 1962, that a professor named Tsum Nui managed to decipher the tiny hieroglyphic characters etched into these spiral grooves. The translated text told an astonishing story. It described a spacecraft that crashed in the mountains thousands of years ago. The occupants, a people called the Dropa, were unable to repair their vessel and became stranded on Earth. The local Ham tribespeople initially feared them, but eventually the two groups learned to coexist. If this translation were true, the Dropa stones would be the most revolutionary archaeological discovery in human history, providing tangible evidence of ancient extraterrestrial contact. However, this is where the story meets the harsh light of scientific scrutiny. The entire narrative is built on a foundation that crumbles upon close examination. The central figures, Kai Pu Te and Tsum Nui, are not verifiable historical figures found in academic records. No major archaeological institution has any record of the expedition or the discovery. The few photographs that exist of the stones are often grainy and inconclusive. When samples were allegedly analyzed, they were often described as a type of granite or a porous material that would be incredibly difficult to inscribe with such fine, precise text. Most damningly, the stones themselves have seemingly vanished from public view, unavailable for modern, rigorous scientific testing. For these reasons, the vast majority of historians and archaeologists classify the Dropa stones as a classic example of a modern myth, a compelling hoax that likely originated in the mid-20th century, a time when fascination with flying saucers and ancient astronauts was beginning to capture the global imagination. Yet, the enduring power of the Dropa stones lies not in their questionable authenticity, but in what they represent. They are a perfect artifact of the human mind, a reflection of our deep and abiding fascination with the possibility that we are not alone. They tap into a universal yearning to find answers to our biggest questions about our origins in the stars. The story combines elements of adventure with explorers in a remote land, mystery with undeciphered texts and strange skeletons, and a profound sense of wonder. Even if they are a fabrication, the stones have taken on a life of their own, becoming a permanent part of modern folklore. They challenge the official narrative of history in a way that is deeply appealing, reminding us that some mysteries, regardless of their factual basis, continue to inspire us to look up at the night sky and dream of other worlds. Imagine a map so advanced for its time that it seems to defy the very history we think we know. Now turn your attention to the year 1520 in the bustling Ottoman Empire. A skilled admiral and cartographer named Piri Reis completes a world map, compiling it from a multitude of sources, some of which he notes were from the time of Alexander the Great. This isn't just any old chart, it is a stunningly detailed depiction of the world, and its most baffling feature is the rendering of the coastlines of the Americas, and even more incredibly, the northernmost edge of Antarctica. This is the Piri Reis Map, a document that has fueled debates and ignited imaginations for centuries, posing a profound question. How could a 16th century navigator have known about lands that were either poorly explored or, in the case of Antarctica, completely shrouded in miles-thick ice for thousands of years? The map's accuracy in certain areas is what truly astounds scholars. It shows the eastern coast of South America with a remarkable level of precision, but it's the representation of the Queen Maud Land region of Antarctica that sends a shiver down the spine of history enthusiasts. This continent has been locked in a deep freeze for millennia, its true topography hidden beneath a massive ice sheet. Yet, the map appears to depict the coastline not as it is today under the ice, but as it might have looked in a distant, ice-free past. This has led to a compelling and controversial theory. Could Piri Reis have been working from far older source maps, charts drawn by an advanced seafaring civilization that explored the Earth in an ancient era when Antarctica was free of ice. Proponents of this idea suggest these lost cartographers could have been the Phoenicians, celebrated mariners of antiquity, or perhaps a culture whose name has been completely erased from time, their knowledge passed down and copied until it finally landed on the desk of an Ottoman admiral. Of course, the academic world offers more grounded, though no less fascinating, explanations. Many scholars argue that the map is a brilliant but imperfect synthesis of all the geographical knowledge available in the early 16th century. This was the age of exploration, and Portuguese, Spanish, and Italian explorers were constantly bringing back new and sometimes fragmented reports from their voyages. Piri Reis himself wrote that he used 20 source maps, including those drawn by Christopher Columbus. Skeptics point out that the map also contains significant errors and omissions, which one would not expect if it were based on perfect ancient charts. The depiction of Antarctica, they suggest, could simply be a lucky guess, a cartographic accident, or the misplacement of another known coastline, perhaps the eastern coast of South America drawn a second time. The debate between these two camps, the lost civilization theorists and the conventional scholars, is what keeps the Piri Reis Map at the center of historical mystery. What makes this artifact so endlessly captivating is not just its potential accuracy, but the larger idea it represents, the ghost of lost knowledge. It forces us to confront the possibility that our understanding of the past is incomplete, that great swaths of human achievement and exploration have vanished, leaving behind only cryptic clues in documents like this one. The Piri Reis Map is a whisper from history, a suggestion that ancient mariners might have been far more ambitious and capable than we ever gave them credit for. It is a tangible link to the countless maps, stories, and discoveries that were lost to war, decay, or simply the passage of time. This single piece of vellum invites us to remain humble about our historical narratives and to always be open to the possibility that the next great discovery might just rewrite everything we thought we knew about our world. Now picture a book that no one can read. Its pages are filled with elegant, curling script that forms no known words, accompanied by illustrations of plants that have never grown on Earth and celestial charts that map unfamiliar skies. This is the Voynich Manuscript, a small, palm-sized codex that has stubbornly guarded its secrets for over 500 years. Created in the 15th century, this book is perhaps the world's most famous literary mystery. The very fact of its existence is a puzzle. Who wrote it and for what purpose? Was it a serious scientific treatise, a book of magic, or an incredibly elaborate and pointless forgery designed to deceive a wealthy patron? The manuscript's vellum pages are a chaotic yet beautiful gallery of the unknown. You will find detailed drawings of flora that seem part fantasy, with roots and leaves that don't match any known botany. There are intricate diagrams of zodiac circles featuring tiny, naked women bathing in interconnected tubes and vessels that resemble a strange biological or alchemical system. Other sections show complex astronomical charts with stars arranged in patterns that don't quite align with our night sky. For centuries, the world's top cryptographers and linguists have tried to crack its code, treating it like an intricate cipher. Military codebreakers from both world wars who successfully deciphered enemy communications turned their skills to the Voynich and walked away baffled. The script has statistical properties similar to a real language, with patterns and repetitions that suggest it is not random gibberish, yet it defies every attempt at translation. This has led to a vast spectrum of theories about its origin. Some propose it is a medical herbal written in a coded vernacular to protect valuable knowledge. Others believe it is the sole surviving document of a lost culture or language. There are those who argue it was the work of a medieval eccentric, a kind of artistic hoax created to be sold as a mysterious curiosity. One particularly inventive theory suggests it was written by a young Leonardo da Vinci as an elaborate exercise, though the dating makes this unlikely. In recent years, even artificial intelligence has been enlisted in the quest for understanding. Researchers have fed the strange script into sophisticated algorithms designed to detect linguistic patterns. Some studies have claimed partial success, suggesting the text might be a form of encoded Hebrew or another known language, but these findings are often disputed by other experts. The manuscript seems to revel in its obscurity, offering just enough structure to hint at meaning while withholding the key needed to unlock it. This enduring enigma speaks to something fundamental in our nature, a deep-seated desire to solve puzzles and understand the unfamiliar. The Voynich Manuscript is more than just an old book. It is a symbol of the limits of our knowledge. It reminds us that the past is not a neatly organized library, but a landscape filled with uncharted territories. Each generation brings new tools and fresh perspectives to this peculiar volume, hoping to be the one that finally hears the whisper of its long-lost author. It stands as a permanent invitation to curiosity, a challenge that continues to captivate because the answer, whatever it may be, promises to reveal a story we have never heard before. Standing guard over a remote Pacific island, the massive stone figures of Easter Island are among the most recognizable yet puzzling artifacts on Earth. These are the Moai, towering monuments carved by the Rapa Nui people, and their very existence on such an isolated piece of land is a monumental mystery in itself. How did a society, numbering at its peak perhaps only in the thousands, manage to quarry, transport, and erect these colossal statues, some weighing more than 80 tons? The sheer scale of the operation speaks to a level of sophistication and communal organization that continues to astonish archaeologists and engineers today. The most prevalent theory suggests the Moai were rocked and rolled into position horizontally on log rollers, a method that would have required immense coordination and a vast supply of timber. Another compelling idea proposes they were walked upright in a rocking motion, guided by teams of people with ropes, a technique that seems almost impossible until you see modern experiments demonstrating its potential. This logistical puzzle is deeply tied to the island's environmental history, with evidence suggesting that a once lush forest was gradually depleted, possibly as a direct result of the resources needed for this incredible cultural project. Beyond the how lies the even more profound question of why. What drove the Rapa Nui to dedicate generations of labor to this singular endeavor? The prevailing view is that the Moai were not mere decorations but sacred representations of deified ancestors. Each statue, with its strong jawline and solemn gaze, was believed to embody the spirit or mana of a powerful chief or lineage founder. Placed on ceremonial platforms called ahu, often along the coast, these silent giants faced inward toward the villages, their backs to the ocean, as if watching over and protecting the living descendants of the people they represented. They were the focal point of a complex belief system, connecting the community to its past and solidifying social and spiritual power. The largest and most elaborate ahu supported rows of these statues, creating a powerful visual statement of a family's status and connection to the divine. The production and erection of a Moai was far more than construction. It was a vital act of cultural and religious significance that bound the community together. Yet the story of the Moai is also a cautionary tale about cultural fragility. The same drive that created these wonders may have also contributed to societal challenges. The narrative, though still debated by scholars, often points to a confluence of environmental strain and social upheaval. As resources became scarce, the focus of the culture appears to have shifted. The period of statue carving eventually ceased, and archaeological evidence points to a period of conflict. Tellingly, many of the Moai were found toppled from their platforms, perhaps deliberately by rival groups seeking to break the spiritual power of their opponents. This transformation of the island's landscape, from a society capable of moving mountains to one facing internal struggle, serves as a powerful reminder of the delicate balance between ambition and sustainability. The Moai, therefore, are not just symbols of a lost culture's engineering prowess, but also stone sentinels marking the resilience and the vulnerabilities of human civilization. They stand and lie fallen as a permanent monument to the incredible things we can achieve together and the unforeseen consequences that can follow. Etched into the arid plains of southern Peru, the Nazca lines present one of archaeology's most visually stunning and intellectually demanding puzzles. From the ground, these immense geoglyphs are little more than shallow grooves in the desert floor, impressions easily overlooked, but from the vantage point of the sky, their true grandeur is breathtakingly revealed. They form a vast gallery of monumental art, depicting a hummingbird with a wingspan longer than a jet plane, a spider with perfectly proportioned legs, a mysterious humanoid figure often called the astronaut, and a host of other geometric shapes and animal forms. Created by the Nazca culture between 500 BC and 500 CE, these designs were made using a remarkably simple yet effective technique. The desert surface is covered in a layer of dark, sun-baked stones rich in iron oxide. By removing these stones to expose the lighter, sand-colored soil beneath, the Nazca people created high-contrast lines that have endured for centuries in the dry, windless climate. The real mystery, however, lies not in their construction but in their purpose. Why would a people create such elaborate and massive artwork that they could never truly see themselves? This very question has fueled a wide spectrum of theories, ranging from the scholarly to the spectacular. The most famous and enduring idea, though largely dismissed by mainstream archaeologists, proposes an otherworldly explanation, suggesting the lines were landing strips or navigational beacons for extraterrestrial visitors. This theory gained traction precisely because the full scale and precision of the designs are only appreciable from high above the Earth. It is a compelling narrative, but most researchers point to a far more grounded, though no less fascinating, cultural origin. The prevailing academic view places these geoglyphs at the heart of Nazca spiritual and ceremonial life. They are believed to be sacred pathways, walked by priests or participants in rituals to invoke the gods, particularly those controlling the most precious resource in the desert, water. The alignment of many lines with underground water sources supports this idea, framing them as desperate and hopeful prayers to the deities for life-giving rain. Other lines correlate with celestial events, pointing to the position of the sun, moon, and stars during solstices, suggesting they also functioned as a colossal astronomical calendar to mark changing seasons and agricultural cycles. This interpretation transforms the desert from a barren canvas into a dynamic ritual space. Imagine the experience not of seeing the lines from above, but of walking them from within. For the Nazca people, the act of procession along these narrow, cleared paths may have been a deeply religious act, a physical journey mirroring a spiritual one. The animal figures likely held profound symbolic meaning, each representing a specific deity or natural force central to their cosmology. The spider, for instance, might be linked to rainfall, a creature associated with water and fertility in Andean myths. The monkey, with its curled tail, could symbolize the lush, forested regions far from the Nazca desert, an emblem of the abundance they sought. In this light, the lines were not meant to be seen by human eyes in their entirety, but to be experienced by the gods above and the community below. They were a form of communication, a permanent offering etched into the very skin of the earth, a plea for balance and sustenance in a challenging environment. They stand as a powerful testament to a culture that expressed its deepest hopes, fears, and understanding of the cosmos not on a small, portable object, but on the grandest scale imaginable, turning their entire world into a temple without walls. While the Nazca lines represent a monumental mystery written across a desert landscape, our next discovery shifts focus to a marvel of miniature complexity. Imagine the scene off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera around the year 60 BCE. A Roman merchant vessel, heavy with looted treasure and luxury goods, succumbs to a storm and sinks to the seafloor. There it rests, shrouded in darkness and silence for 2,000 years. Its rediscovery in 1901 by sponge divers was a moment of pure astonishment, yielding statues, jewelry, and glassware. But among these expected artifacts was something utterly baffling, a lump of corroded bronze and wood that initially seemed like worthless debris. It was only decades later, as researchers carefully cleaned and examined this encrusted mass, that its true nature began to emerge, shattering our perception of ancient technological prowess. This object, now known as the Antikythera Mechanism, is not a statue or a simple tool. It is a device of breathtaking intricacy, a clockwork masterpiece comprised of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, precisely calibrated dials, and carefully inscribed scales. It is, in essence, the world's first known analog computer. To understand its function is to be truly humbled by the intellect of its creators. This was not a toy or a speculative model. It was a sophisticated scientific instrument designed to calculate and display celestial information with remarkable accuracy. By turning a hand crank on its side, an operator could advance the mechanism's gears, which in turn moved pointers across various dials on the front and back. These dials tracked the movement of the sun and the moon through the zodiac, predicted lunar phases and solar eclipses, and even modeled the irregular orbit of the moon, a complex motion that requires a clever differential gear to replicate, a technology once thought invented 1,000 years later. Some researchers believe it also tracked the cycles of the 5 planets known to the ancient Greeks, and even predicted the dates of major athletic games like the Olympics. In short, it was a portable, mechanical representation of the universe as understood by Hellenistic astronomy. The existence of such a device forces a complete reimagining of the technological landscape of the ancient world. Before its discovery, we assumed this level of precise mechanical engineering simply did not exist until the rise of European cathedrals and their astronomical clocks in the medieval period. The Antikythera Mechanism proves otherwise. It speaks of a vibrant tradition of high craftsmanship and scientific inquiry, likely originating in the great learning centers of the Hellenistic world like Rhodes or Alexandria. Think of the intellectual journey required to create it. Astronomers had to make precise observations of the heavens over generations. Mathematicians had to translate those celestial cycles into complex gear ratios. And master artisans had to forge and assemble these tiny, durable metal components with tools we can scarcely comprehend. This was not magic, it was science of a sophistication we never knew they possessed. Perhaps the most tantalizing thought the mechanism inspires is one of loss. This single device survived only by the sheer chance of its shipwreck and preservation underwater. How many others like it were melted down for scrap or simply decayed into dust? The writings of Cicero mention a similar instrument created by the philosopher Archimedes, describing a globe that showed the motions of the sun, moon, and planets. Was the Antikythera Mechanism part of a known but now vanished technological tradition? Its discovery is a powerful reminder that history is not a linear march of progress, but a story full of peaks and valleys, of knowledge won, lost, and sometimes rediscovered centuries later. It stands as a bronze and gear testament to a forgotten golden age of science, challenging us to always question what we think we know about the capabilities of those who came before us. Deep in the lush river valleys and tropical foothills of southern Costa Rica, a silent stone mystery endures, scattered across the landscape, often half buried in the soil or resting near banana plantations, are hundreds of nearly perfect spheres carved from solid granite. Known as the stone spheres of Costa Rica, these enigmatic objects range in size from a mere few inches to colossal orbs over 2.5 meters in diameter, weighing up to an astonishing 16 tons. Their surfaces are remarkably smooth, their shapes so impeccably spherical that modern engineers using precision tools would be hard-pressed to match their perfection. They date back over 1,000 years to the pre-Columbian era, crafted by the skilled artisans of the now-vanished Diquis culture. The creation of these spheres was an undertaking of immense patience and incredible skill. The Diquis people, without the use of metal tools, first identified large boulders of suitable granite. They would then use other, harder stones to meticulously chip away the outer layers, gradually revealing the sphere within. The final stages involved painstaking polishing, likely using sand and water over a long period, to achieve that breathtaking, smooth finish. The sheer logistical effort is staggering to consider. How did they transport these multi-ton stone balls from the quarries to their final locations, often many kilometers away through dense, mountainous jungle? It speaks to a highly organized society, capable of mobilizing labor and resources for projects whose ultimate purpose, to this day, remains one of archaeology's most captivating puzzles. The most compelling question, of course, is why? Why dedicate such immense communal effort to create these enigmatic objects? Without any written records from the Diquis culture, archaeologists are left to interpret the clues left behind. One prominent theory suggests the spheres served as powerful status symbols. They might have been arranged in prominent plazas or near the homes of chieftains, their size and number directly reflecting the wealth, power, and influence of a ruler or a community. In this sense, they were a physical manifestation of social hierarchy, a silent language of prestige carved in enduring stone. Another fascinating idea posits an astronomical purpose. Some spheres have been found arranged in alignments that potentially correlate with celestial events, such as the rising and setting of the sun during solstices or equinoxes. They could have functioned as a giant, permanent calendar etched into the landscape, helping to regulate agricultural cycles and important ceremonial dates. This theory transforms the spheres from mere monuments into sophisticated scientific instruments, connecting the earthly realm with the cosmos above. Other interpretations lean more towards the spiritual and mythological. The perfect shape of the sphere, with no beginning and no end, is a powerful symbol of eternity, completeness, and the divine in many world cultures. It is possible these orbs held deep religious significance, representing celestial bodies like the sun or moon, or perhaps even eggs, symbols of life and creation. They might have marked sacred spaces, burial sites, or locations where important rituals were performed, acting as a permanent conduit between the people and their gods. Some arrangements, particularly larger groupings, could have mapped out constellations or told the stories of ancestral heroes and mythological journeys, creating a three-dimensional narrative across the terrain. The truth is, the purpose of the spheres was likely not singular. They probably held multifaceted meanings, serving practical, social, and spiritual functions all at once, their significance understood in layers by the people who made and used them. The story of their modern rediscovery adds another layer to their mystery. For centuries, the spheres were largely unknown to the outside world, hidden by the encroaching jungle and local folklore. It was only in the 1930s, when the United Fruit Company began clearing vast tracts of land for banana plantations, that these stone giants were uncovered in significant numbers. Unfortunately, many were dynamited by hopeful treasure hunters who believed the spherical stones might contain hidden gold. Others were rolled down hills or vandalized, their original arrangements forever lost. This destruction makes the work of archaeologists even more challenging, as the context of where they were found and how they were positioned relative to one another is often gone. Today, the remaining spheres are protected national treasures, with several key sites open to the public. They stand as a solemn, beautiful reminder of a sophisticated culture whose voice is silent, but whose legacy is permanently inscribed upon the land. They invite us to ponder not just how they were made, but what they meant to the people who invested their lives in creating them. They are a testament to the universal human desire to shape our world, to leave a mark, and to seek connection with forces greater than ourselves through the most enduring materials we can find. Imagine holding in your hands a small, fired clay disc, no larger than a common dinner plate, and realizing you are gazing upon one of the most profound and frustrating puzzles ever unearthed by archaeologists. This is the Phaistos disk, discovered in 1908 within the ruins of the Minoan palace of Phaistos on the sun-drenched island of Crete. Its two flat surfaces are covered, from edge to center, in a continuous spiral of meticulously stamped symbols. A total of 241 individual impressions form 45 distinct signs, ranging from human figures and animals like birds and fish to more abstract shapes such as shields, arrows, and what appears to be a beehive. The immediate and enduring mystery is that this script, often called linear or a close relative, has never been found anywhere else in the world. It is a complete anomaly, a language without any known siblings or descendants, making every attempt to crack its code an exercise in sheer, tantalizing speculation. The method of its creation is itself a marvel that speaks to a sophisticated and innovative mind. Each symbol was not carved by hand, but rather impressed into the soft clay using a set of pre-formed seals, or stamps, making this object one of the earliest known examples of movable type printing in human history. This technological leap, occurring over 3,000 years ago, predates the invention of the printing press by millennia. Someone, or some group, went to the considerable trouble of creating a full set of intricate punches to produce this specific message. This suggests the content was incredibly important, perhaps meant to be replicated, or was of such significance that it demanded this unique and permanent form. The fact that the disc was fired, hardening the clay and preserving it through the palace's destruction, only reinforces the idea that its message was deemed valuable enough to be made eternal. Yet, for all this careful effort, we are left completely in the dark about what that vital message actually says. This isolation is what makes the Phaistos disc so endlessly captivating and so maddening for linguists. Normally, the decipherment of an ancient script relies on finding a Rosetta Stone scenario, a parallel text in a known language that provides the key. For the Phaistos disc, no such key exists. The symbols share some vague similarities with other Minoan scripts, but they are not close enough to offer a clear path to understanding. This has led to a breathtaking array of theories about its purpose and meaning, each one more imaginative than the last. Some scholars propose it is a religious text, a hymn or a prayer to a forgotten deity, with the spiral pattern representing a journey or a cycle. Others have suggested it could be a form of ancient political propaganda, proclaiming the deeds of a king or the laws of the land. More playful interpretations posit it as the rulebook for a sacred board game, a geometric design for a dance, or even a complex astronomical calendar. The very uniqueness of the disk fuels a constant tension between academic study and more speculative ideas. Because it stands alone, it becomes a blank canvas upon which we project our own curiosities and desires to solve the unsolvable. It challenges the very foundations of archaeology and linguistics, disciplines built on context and comparison. Here is an object that offers almost no context and has nothing to compare it to. It is a solitary whisper from the past, a single page from a book whose every other page has been lost to time. This profound mystery encourages a deep appreciation for the limits of our knowledge. It is a humbling reminder that there are cultures and stories from our shared human history that are completely beyond our recovery, their voices silenced, their meanings obscured. The Phaistos disk is not just an artifact, it is a symbol of all that we do not know, a beautiful and enigmatic invitation to keep wondering, to keep searching, and to remain forever curious about the lost chapters of our world. Now we turn our attention from the solid, tangible mystery of the Phaistos disk to a story that is entirely written, a text that exists not in clay but on papyrus, and one that is so clouded by controversy it is often left out of academic discussions entirely. This is the so-called Tulli papyrus. Unlike our previous artifacts, this one's primary enigma is not its physical construction or purpose, but the incredible event it purportedly describes. The document is said to be a translation of an ancient Egyptian account, dating to the reign of Thutmose III around 1480 BCE. It tells a story that feels startlingly modern. According to the text, scribes of the time witnessed a miraculous and terrifying event. They reported seeing circles of fire or fiery disks appearing in the sky. These objects were said to shine brighter than the sun, and they moved in strange, unnatural patterns before eventually ascending higher and vanishing. The description is so familiar to us today that it instantly evokes the widespread modern phenomenon of UFO sightings. The history of the papyrus itself, however, is where the real mystery begins, and it is a mystery of provenance that casts a long shadow over its content. The original document was never truly seen by modern Egyptologists. The story goes that it was discovered by an Italian royal ambassador named Alberto Tulli in an antique shop in Cairo sometime in the 1930s. Finding the price too high, he did not purchase the original but instead made a handwritten copy of the text. This copy was then allegedly translated by a priest and later by other researchers. The original papyrus, if it ever existed, has vanished, leaving only this second-hand transcription and its subsequent translations as the sole evidence for this astounding claim. This lack of a primary source is the central reason most mainstream historians and Egyptologists dismiss the Tulli papyrus as a forgery, a hoax, or perhaps a severe mistranslation of a more conventional religious or astronomical text. This artifact forces us to confront a fascinating intersection of history, mythology, and modern belief. If we were to accept its authenticity for just a moment, the implications would be profound. It would suggest that the phenomenon of unidentified aerial objects is not a product of the 20th century and the atomic age, but rather a thread woven throughout human history. It would mean that ancient peoples with a completely different framework for understanding the world were also witnessing and meticulously recording events in their skies that defied all explanation. They would have had no concept of aircraft, satellites, or extraterrestrial life, so they interpreted these visions through the only lens available to them, that of the divine and the miraculous, describing them as circles of fire sent from the heavens. Ultimately, the Tulli papyrus is perhaps less important as a historical document and more significant as a cultural mirror. It reflects our own enduring human fascination with the unexplained and our powerful desire to find evidence for our beliefs in the distant past. It shows how easily the lines between literal record and symbolic myth can become blurred over millennia. Whether a genuine ancient report or an elaborate modern creation, this disputed text encourages a profound reflection on how our ancestors made sense of a mysterious universe and how we, thousands of years later, are still engaging in that very same quest for understanding, always looking to the skies and into the past for answers. Moving from a controversial text to a tangible carving on an ancient temple wall, we arrive at an artifact that has electrified the imagination of alternative history seekers for decades. Deep within the Hathor Temple at Dendera in Egypt, a series of intricate stone reliefs cover the walls, but one particular set of images stands out for its uncanny resemblance to a technology that should not have existed for another 2,000 years. The so-called Dendera light appears to show a large, elongated object reminiscent of a giant glass bulb. Inside this bulb, a snake twists its way along the length, ending at a socket-like base that connects to a pillar. A figure is depicted holding the object steady, while another seems to act as an operator. To the modern eye, it is an almost irresistible image, one that looks strikingly like an ancient electric light bulb, complete with a filament and power cables. This interpretation suggests that the ancient Egyptians might have possessed knowledge of electricity, using it to illuminate their dark subterranean tombs and temples, a theory that would completely upend our understanding of their technological capabilities. Mainstream Egyptology, however, offers a very different and deeply symbolic interpretation. Scholars point out that the relief is found in a chamber dedicated to the creator god, and the imagery is rich with established Egyptian mythology. The snake, they argue, is not a filament but a representation of the Urias, a sacred cobra symbolizing divine authority and protection. The entire scene is interpreted as a depiction of a foundational creation myth, the nightly journey of the sun god Ra through the underworld. In this reading, the bulb is not a bulb at all, but the womb of the sky goddess Nut from which the sun serpent is born each morning. The pillar is the Jed pillar, a symbol of stability, and the cables are likely lotus blossoms, which in Egyptian art represent creation and rebirth. The figures are gods performing a cosmic ritual, ensuring the sun's rebirth and the continuation of the world. This explanation grounds the imagery firmly within the well-documented spiritual and artistic traditions of ancient Egypt. This stark divide in interpretation makes the Dendera relief a fascinating case study in how we view the past. It highlights a fundamental tension between seeing ancient art as a literal record of technology and understanding it as a complex symbolic language. Proponents of the light bulb theory often argue that the dark, windowless inner chambers of pyramids and temples would have been incredibly difficult to illuminate with mere torches or oil lamps, which produce smoke and consume oxygen. The idea of a clean, electric light source is an appealing solution to a practical problem. Yet, no physical evidence of batteries, wires, or generators has ever been found in Egypt, and the technical knowledge required for such a system seems absent from the archaeological record. The symbolic interpretation, while less sensational, is supported by a wealth of contextual evidence from countless other texts and carvings that describe these exact myths. Ultimately, the enduring power of the Dendera light lies in its ability to challenge our perceptions. It forces us to ask difficult questions about the limits of ancient innovation and the ways in which different cultures encode their understanding of the world. Are we projecting our own technological framework onto a people who saw the universe in entirely different, more magical terms? Or is it possible that we have underestimated the practical applications of their profound knowledge? The carving serves as a powerful reminder that the past is not a simple, linear progression toward the present. It is a mosaic of different worldviews where the boundaries between science, spirituality, and art were often beautifully and intentionally blurred. The true mystery of Dendera may not be whether the Egyptians had light bulbs, but how they achieved such brilliance in their culture, leaving behind monuments that continue to shine a light on the depths of human creativity. Leaving behind the carved mysteries of ancient Egypt, we travel across the Atlantic to a quiet farm in Minnesota, where a discovery in 1898 would ignite one of the most enduring controversies in American archaeology. The Kensington runestone, a slab of greywacke stone weighing over 200 pounds, was unearthed by a Swedish immigrant farmer named Olof Oman. According to his account, he found it tangled in the roots of a tree he was clearing from his land. What made this stone extraordinary were the markings carved into its face, a message in runic script that told a harrowing tale of Norse explorers far from home. The inscription, when translated, spoke of a group of 8 Goths and 22 Norwegians on an exploration journey from Vinland. It chronicled a tragic event, stating that 10 men were red with blood and dead, and it was dated to the year 1362. If authentic, this stone would not only predate Christopher Columbus's voyage by over 130 years, but also push the timeline of Norse exploration deep into the North American interior, a claim that would dramatically reshape the history of the continent. The initial wave of academic excitement, however, soon crashed against the rocks of intense skepticism. Linguists and historians began to pick apart the inscription, identifying what they saw as glaring anachronisms. The runes used were a blend of styles from different centuries, and some words and grammatical constructions appeared far more modern than the 14th century date would allow. Critics argued that the language reflected a 19th century Scandinavian dialect, something a farmer like Oman would have known, rather than the Old Norse of the medieval period. The very content of the message also raised eyebrows. The phrase, "red with blood and dead," was seen by some as melodramatic, more akin to a romanticized Viking saga than a genuine historical record carved by survivors in a moment of crisis. For over a century, the debate has raged, with the stone spending much of its life dismissed as an elaborate hoax, a creation of a homesick immigrant longing to connect his new world to the heroic legends of his homeland. Yet the story of the Kensington runestone is far from closed. Modern proponents have revisited the evidence with new technologies and fresh perspectives. Geological studies have been conducted on the weathering of the inscription, with some researchers arguing that the carving shows signs of significant age, inconsistent with a modern forgery. Others have delved into historical records, pointing to lesser-known Norse expeditions and medieval maps that suggest Scandinavian travels could have extended further west than previously accepted. They ask a compelling question: could some of the linguistic oddities be explained by the unique circumstances of the carvers? Perhaps they were a mixed group using a pidgin language, or maybe the runes were carved by someone with only a rudimentary knowledge of the script, leading to errors that now look like modern inventions. This artifact forces us to confront the human element in archaeology, the reality that history is messy and rarely conforms to our neat expectations. The Kensington runestone ultimately stands as a powerful symbol of the tension between discovery and proof. It embodies the thrilling possibility of rewriting history while also serving as a cautionary tale about the desire to believe. It challenges the very methods of archaeology, asking how we authenticate the past when there is no corroborating evidence, and how we distinguish between a brilliant hoax and a misunderstood genuine artifact. The stone does not offer easy answers. Instead, it invites us to hold two competing ideas in our minds at once, to maintain a healthy skepticism without completely closing the door on wonder. It is a reminder that our understanding of history is a living, breathing narrative, constantly being revised with each new piece of evidence, each new interpretation. Whether finally proven to be a genuine record of pre-Columbian exploration or a clever 19th century creation, the Kensington runestone has secured its place not just in the soil of Minnesota, but in the ongoing story of how we uncover and interpret our shared human past. High in the Andes Mountains, overlooking the ancient city of Cusco, rests a fortress that defies conventional understanding of pre-Columbian construction. The Sacsayhuaman walls are a monumental puzzle, a complex of massive limestone blocks carved and fitted together with such precision that not even a sheet of paper can slide between them. These stones are not uniform bricks, they are colossal, irregular polygons, some weighing over 100 tons, yet they interlock in a seamless, three-dimensional jigsaw that has withstood centuries of earthquakes. This incredible precision immediately sparks the imagination, leading many to wonder how such a feat was accomplished without modern tools or even the use of mortar to hold the structure together. The sheer scale and perfection of the work have given rise to theories that stretch beyond traditional archaeology. Some suggest the builders possessed lost technologies, perhaps even tools that could soften stone to a clay-like consistency, allowing them to mold the blocks into place. Others, looking at the superhuman effort required, have proposed more speculative ideas involving assistance from advanced ancient civilizations or otherworldly influences. While these ideas capture our sense of wonder, most scholars point to a far more grounded, yet equally astounding explanation: the culmination of generations of Inca skill, patience, and communal will. The true marvel of Sacsayhuaman lies not in mythical explanations, but in the tangible evidence of human ingenuity. Archaeologists and stonemasons studying the site believe the Inca craftsmen used a technique known as trial and error fitting. They would have painstakingly shaped each block by hammering with harder stones, slowly abrading the surfaces until they matched the contours of their neighboring stones perfectly. This process required a profound understanding of geometry and materials, as well as an immense amount of labor. The transportation of these enormous blocks from quarries miles away is another staggering achievement. They were likely dragged over rolling logs by large teams of workers, a testament to the incredible organizational power of the Inca state. This was not the work of slaves under a whip, but of communities fulfilling their labor tax, known as mita, a system that bound the empire together through shared, rotational work on public projects. The walls, therefore, stand as a physical manifestation of social cohesion and centralized planning, a symbol of how the Inca mobilized their entire society to create enduring monuments. Beyond their obvious defensive strength, these walls held deep spiritual and ceremonial significance for the Inca. The zig-zagging patterns of the walls are said to represent the teeth of the puma, as the city of Cusco itself was laid out in the shape of this sacred animal. Sacsayhuaman formed the head of the puma, a powerful symbol of strength and protection. The site was a huaca, a sacred place, and served as the backdrop for some of the most important ceremonies in the Inca calendar, including the great festival of Inti Raymi, which celebrated the sun god Inti. The interplay between the massive, imposing stonework and the carefully crafted ceremonial spaces within the complex shows a sophisticated blend of the practical and the spiritual. The Inca did not merely build a fortress, they created a sacred landscape in stone, designed to honor their gods, showcase their power, and connect the earthly realm with the cosmic order. This duality reminds us that for many ancient cultures, architecture was never just about function. It was a language through which they expressed their deepest beliefs and their relationship with the world around them. While the massive stones of Sacsayhuaman speak to us from a distant, pre-literate past, another set of stones emerged with a very modern message, deliberately crafted for the far future. In 1980, in a quiet field in Elbert County, Georgia, a mysterious monument appeared that seemed to bridge centuries. The Georgia Guidestones, often called America's Stonehenge, consisted of 6 massive granite slabs weighing over 100 tons collectively. Arranged with astronomical precision, one central pillar was flanked by 4 others radiating outward, all capped by a single stone tablet. The true intrigue, however, was not in their construction but in their inscription. Carved into the stone in 8 different modern languages, including English, Spanish, Hindi, and Arabic, were 10 guiding principles for a future civilization recovering from some imagined catastrophe. The messages called for maintaining humanity under 500 million people, balancing reproduction with fitness, unifying with a new language, and guiding passion with reason. A further message was inscribed along the top in 4 ancient scripts: Babylonian cuneiform, Classical Greek, Sanskrit, and Egyptian hieroglyphics, which translated to a simple, powerful plea. Let these be guidestones to an age of reason. The anonymity surrounding the guidestones' creation immediately fueled intense speculation and a host of theories. The entire project was commissioned by a man using the pseudonym R.C. Christian, who approached the Elberton Granite Finishing Company with detailed plans and a substantial budget. He claimed to represent a small group of loyal Americans who wished to leave a message for future generations, but their true identities and motivations were never revealed. This deliberate secrecy transformed the monument from a simple curiosity into a modern enigma. For some, the messages were seen as a benevolent, altruistic blueprint for rebuilding a sustainable and peaceful society after a potential global collapse. The emphasis on reason, nature, and harmony resonated with environmental and humanist ideals, yet for others, the guidestones took on a far more sinister tone. The call to cap the global population, in particular, was interpreted by conspiracy theorists as a dark wish for massive depopulation, linking the anonymous authors to shadowy globalist agendas or secret societies. The monument became a focal point for protests, debates, and even vandalism, illustrating how a modern artifact can become a screen onto which we project our deepest hopes and fears for the future. What makes the Georgia Guidestones so compelling is their conscious creation as an artifact meant to be discovered and pondered by people thousands of years from now, much like the ancient relics we uncover today. They force us to confront the concept of legacy, to ask what core values and knowledge we would choose to preserve if we could send a single message through time. The Guidestones were a deliberate attempt to bypass the fragility of digital records and paper, using the enduring medium of stone to speak across millennia. Their sudden and complete destruction in 2022, when they were demolished for safety reasons after being repeatedly damaged, only adds a final, ironic layer to their mysterious story. Their physical form is now gone, but their controversial message and the intense discussion they sparked survive, preserved in the digital record they sought to transcend. This modern enigma serves as a powerful reminder that the artifacts of tomorrow are being created today, and they will one day tell the story of our own values, our conflicts, and our aspirations to those who come long after we are gone. But while some artifacts like the Georgia Guidestones were created with a clear, if cryptic, message for the future, others offer no such guidance. They are silent puzzles from a time before written language, their meanings locked away within abstract art. One of the most captivating examples is the Cochno stone, a massive slab of sandstone discovered in Scotland in the late 19th century. This stone is not a simple rock but a vast canvas, covered in dozens of intricate, swirling designs known as cup and ring marks. These carvings consist of a central, cup-like depression surrounded by concentric circles, often with a single groove running from the center outwards, like a spoke on a wheel. The sheer number and complexity of these symbols, etched into the rock over 5,000 years ago, transformed the stone into a dense manuscript of the Neolithic mind, a language of shapes that no one alive today can fluently read. The mystery of the Cochno stone is amplified by its familiarity. It is not a unique oddity but part of a much larger family. Similar cup and ring marks have been found on stones and outcrops all across Europe, from the highlands of Scotland to the sunny coasts of Portugal and Spain. This widespread occurrence suggests that this was not a local dialect of art but a widespread symbolic language, a shared visual code understood by disparate cultures across the continent. Yet this shared language only deepens the mystery. What universal human experience or observation were these ancient peoples trying to capture and communicate? Without a Rosetta Stone to translate these petroglyphs, archaeologists and historians have proposed a fascinating array of theories. Some researchers believe the patterns represent celestial maps, charting the positions of stars, the sun, and the moon. The concentric circles could depict orbits or cosmic events, serving as a primitive astronomical calendar to track the seasons for planting and harvesting. Others see a more spiritual significance, proposing that the stones were central to ritual practices. The cups might have held offerings to gods or spirits, or perhaps they were used in ceremonies where liquids like water or blood were poured, the grooves channeling the sacred fluid in a symbolic act. Another compelling idea is that the stones acted as territorial markers, denoting ancestral lands or sacred gathering places for specific clans or tribes. The unique combinations of cups and rings could have served as a family crest or a tribal signature, a permanent claim carved into the very bedrock. There is also a deeply personal interpretation that the act of carving itself was the purpose. Creating these marks may have been a form of meditation, a way for an individual to connect with the earth, or a rite of passage. For decades, the Cochno stone itself was buried under soil and turf, reburied by archaeologists in 1965 to protect it from vandalism. It was only re-excavated in 2015, allowing a new generation of scientists to scan its surface with modern laser technology, hoping that high-resolution three-dimensional models might reveal patterns invisible to the naked eye. While these studies have documented the carvings with incredible precision, the fundamental question remains unanswered. The stone guards its secret as stubbornly as ever. It stands as a powerful testament to the human impulse to create meaning, to leave a mark that says we were here, we saw the world, and we tried to understand it. Now, let us journey to the lush, mountainous terrain of Laos, where one of the most visually striking and profoundly mysterious archaeological sites in all of Southeast Asia lies scattered across the landscape. This is the Plain of Jars, a vast expanse where thousands of massive stone vessels, some as tall as a person and weighing several tons, are arranged in mysterious clusters across the rolling hills. Carved from solid rock, these jars date back to the Iron Age, possibly as early as 500 years before the Common Era, and they stand as silent, stoic sentinels from a culture that left behind no written records to explain their purpose. The sheer scale of this endeavor is staggering to contemplate. Quarrying the stone, shaping these immense containers, and transporting them to their final positions would have required a highly organized society with significant resources and skilled labor. This was not the work of a small, isolated community, but a coordinated cultural project of immense importance, the meaning of which has been lost to the centuries. The most prevailing theory, supported by archaeological finds from within and around the jars, is that they were central to ancient burial practices. Excavations have revealed artifacts such as ceramic pots, iron and bronze tools, glass beads, and sadly, human remains. This suggests a funerary custom where the jars may have been used to hold the bodies of the deceased for a period of excarnation, a process where the natural elements would clean the bones. After this, the bones might have been collected for a secondary burial elsewhere, or perhaps they remained in the jars as a final resting place. The jars could have also held offerings for the dead, items they would need in the afterlife, making each vessel a sacred repository for both the physical and spiritual journey of a departed individual. This transforms the plain from a mere field of stone into a vast, ancient memorial site, a place where an entire culture collectively honored their ancestors and grappled with the universal human experience of loss and memory. Yet the mystery is far from solved. If the jars were primarily for burial, why are there so many, and why are they distributed in such specific groupings across the landscape? Some researchers propose alternative or additional functions. The jars might have been used for practical storage, holding rainwater for caravan travelers along an ancient trade route, or fermenting a large quantities of rice wine or food for major communal festivals. Their locations could mark important meeting places for different tribes, with each jar representing a specific family or clan. The true answer may be a complex combination of all these ideas. The plain of jars likely served multiple roles throughout its long history, functioning as a central point for both the practical needs of the living and the spiritual rituals for the dead. This site challenges us to move beyond simple explanations and appreciate the rich, multifaceted nature of ancient cultures. It encourages a respectful curiosity, reminding us that these are not just puzzles to be solved but sacred spaces that reflect how our ancestors sought meaning, community, and connection across the generations. And now we arrive at perhaps the most personally resonant and hotly debated artifact on our entire list, an object that exists at the very crossroads of faith, science, and history. Housed within the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy, is a simple piece of linen cloth measuring approximately 14 feet long by 3.5 feet wide. Yet this humble textile is anything but simple, for it bears the faint, sepia-toned image of a front and back view of a man who appears to have suffered traumatic physical hardship. The image shows details consistent with Roman crucifixion, from wounds on the wrists and feet to what could be a puncture in the side and markings on the head. For millions of devout Christians, this is not a mere representation but the actual burial shroud that once wrapped the body of Jesus of Nazareth following his passing, making it one of the most sacred relics in the world. This belief invests the cloth with profound spiritual significance, transforming it from an archaeological curiosity into a tangible object of veneration and pilgrimage. The central and most compelling mystery of the shroud is the nature of the image itself. How was it created? Despite decades of intense scientific scrutiny, utilizing the most advanced technologies available, the exact process that imprinted this figure onto the linen fibers remains completely unknown and has proven impossible to replicate. It is not a painting, as no pigments or brushstrokes have been found. It is not a scorch mark from heat. the coloration resides only on the very topmost microns of the threads, a detail far too precise for any known medieval artistic technique. The image possesses photographic-like qualities, with a level of detail about three-dimensional information that some researchers compare to a primitive photograph. This has led to a multitude of theories, ranging from a miraculous burst of energy at the moment of resurrection to a complex and lost chemical development process using ancient materials like myrrh and aloes. The very fact that modern science cannot definitively explain its origin is what continues to fuel the debate and captivate the imagination of researchers and the public alike. This scientific inquiry took a dramatic turn in the late 1980s when the Vatican granted permission for a small sample of the shroud to be subjected to radiocarbon dating by 3 independent laboratories. The results, published in 1989, pointed unanimously to a date of origin between 1260 and 1390. This seemed, for many, to be the final word, conclusively proving the shroud was a medieval creation, likely an elaborate devotional object or perhaps even an attempted forgery from that era. However, this conclusion did not settle the matter. Almost immediately, challenges to the carbon dating emerged. Critics of the results pointed to potential contamination of the sample piece, suggesting it could have been a medieval patch woven into the original cloth during repairs after a fire in the 1530s. Other researchers have proposed that a bioplastic coating of microscopic bacteria and fungi on the linen threads could have skewed the dating results, making the sample appear much younger than it truly is. The carbon dating, rather than closing the book, simply opened another chapter of intense controversy, demonstrating how a single scientific method can itself become the subject of scrutiny. Ultimately, the power of the Shroud of Turin may lie less in its scientific properties and more in what it represents about the human experience. It serves as a powerful symbol of our enduring need to connect with the profound mysteries of history and faith through physical objects. It is a relic that asks us to consider the boundaries between what we can prove and what we feel, between empirical evidence and personal belief. Whether one views it as a divine miracle, an astonishing medieval enigma, or something in between, the shroud continues to command respect and fascination. It stands as a timeless reminder that some artifacts transcend their material form to become mirrors, reflecting back at us our deepest questions about sacrifice, legacy, and the eternal search for meaning. From the startling possibility of an ancient electrical cell in the Baghdad Battery to the undecipherable botanical and astronomical codes of the Voynich Manuscript, these 20 enigmatic artifacts serve as powerful reminders that the story of humanity is far richer and more complex than any history book could ever contain. They are not merely objects of stone, metal, or parchment, but fragments of a vast, interconnected tapestry woven with threads of known history and tantalizing unknowns. Each discovery, whether ultimately explained by science or remaining shrouded in mystery, offers a profound glimpse into the boundless creativity, ingenuity, and curiosity that have defined our species for millennia. These puzzles from the past actively challenge our most deeply held assumptions about technological progression and cultural development, forcing us to continually re-evaluate what we think we know. They encourage rigorous scientific inquiry, demanding that we develop new methods and technologies to probe their secrets, while simultaneously sparking the pure, unfettered imagination that wonders about lost civilizations, forgotten knowledge, and epic journeys now faded from memory. This journey across continents and through time highlights a universal truth that the past is never a closed book, but a living, breathing narrative that is constantly being revised with each new find. It is always worth exploring, not just for the answers we might uncover, but for the better, more insightful questions we are compelled to ask. As we reflect on these remarkable finds, from the monumental heads on Easter Island to the precise granite messages of the Georgia Guidestones, consider how each one connects to the broader, eternal human themes of innovation in the face of challenge, the deep cultural need to create and express meaning, and our relentless quest for knowledge about our place in the universe. This conversation does not end here. We are incredibly eager to hear which of these artifacts captured your imagination the most. Was it the mysterious Antikythera Mechanism that reshaped your view of ancient technology, or the lonely Maine Penny that hints at transoceanic voyages long before Columbus? Share your thoughts and your own theories down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history's greatest puzzles, please show your support by liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more journeys into the unexplained. And finally, remember that the next great discovery, the next artifact that could rewrite everything we thought we knew, might be resting just beneath our feet, patiently waiting for its moment to reveal its long-held secrets. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through time and mystery. If these 20 enigmatic artifacts sparked your curiosity and made you see the past in a new light, we would be so grateful if you would show your support by liking this video. That simple click helps us continue creating deep dives into history's greatest puzzles for you. To make sure you do not miss our next adventure, be sure to subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. We are always exploring new topics from lost cities to unexplained phenomena, and we would love for you to be part of that conversation. Your thoughts and theories are what make this community so fascinating. After all, history is a discussion, not a monologue, so please share your impressions in the comments below. Which of these artifacts left you the most bewildered? Do you have a personal theory about the purpose of the Nazca lines or the creator of the Voynich Manuscript? Perhaps you have even visited one of these sites or have a story about an unusual historical find of your own. We read every comment and love hearing from fellow enthusiasts around the world. If you are still hungry for more mysteries, our exploration does not have to end here. We have an entire playlist dedicated to archaeological wonders, filled with videos that delve into other perplexing discoveries from across the globe. It is the perfect way to keep the sense of wonder alive until our next video arrives. Together, let's continue to seek out the stories hidden in stone, metal, and parchment, and celebrate the endless curiosity that drives us to understand our shared human story. Thank you for